Here on the Peripetia podcast, we talk about life's turning points, the plot twists that change everything. If you're in one of those moments now, questioning your habits, your happiness, or your relationship with alcohol, check out Ditch the Drink. It's life coaching with a sober, curious twist because we're all recovering from something, whether that's grief, burnout, people-pleasing, perfectionism, you name it. Start your next chapter with a free guide and masterclass at ditchthedrink.com. Your turning point could start today. This episode is brought to you by Kajabi, the all-in-one platform that helps creators like you turn your knowledge into income. Whether you're a coach, course creator, or content pro, Kajabi gives you everything you need to build, market, and sell your offers all in one place. No duct taping together websites, email systems, landing pages, or payment processors. Kajabi handles it all, so you can focus on what you do best, teaching, creating, and connecting. I use Kajabi myself, and I can tell you it's a game changer. You can launch a digital product, build a membership, or host an entire online course without needing to be a tech genius. Want to give it a try? Head to my link for a free 30-day trial and see how simple building your dreams can be. Kajabi, where creators become entrepreneurs.
Hey, babe, and welcome to the Peripetia podcast, a talk show for women. This is the place to talk about how we're ditching our bad habits, long-held patterns, and limiting beliefs. The time is now to stop outsourcing and start insourcing our happiness and bliss. Am I right? I'm Heather Lowe, your empowering life coach, ready to guide you on this incredible journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and freedom. If you're feeling stuck in the cycle and wondering what life could look like if you liberated yourself, well, I've got something just for you. I created a free guide to help you take those first empowering steps towards a healthier and more fulfilling life, the one that you desire. This guide is packed with practical tools, mindset shifts, journal prompts that dig deep, and real-life insights to support you in making changes that truly stick. So if you're ready to explore what's possible, head over to ditchthedrink.com and grab your free guide today. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. And if you want a group of babes to journey with, I've got you there too. We're staying connected through the Ditch the Drink Insider app with private forums, weekly group calls, masterclasses, live workshops, book clubs, in real life events, and more. And the best part is you can join for free with a 7-day trial. I'd love to continue the conversation on the inside. Now, let's dive into today's episode and get inspired to create the life you deserve, like so many other babes are doing right now. Here we go.
Peripetia listeners, I'm excited today for our guest, Tawny Lara. I'm sure that you know her. We've connected on a lot of things before. In fact, you do a module in my Dare to Dream Launch Your Business course. So we've been known of each other from social media probably for a long time. We're friends with some of the same people, Chris Marshall and Nicole from After Magazine. Now we're friends with each other, but you guys might know her as the Sober Sexpert. She has reported on sober curious, lifestyles, non-alcoholic beverages since 2015. 10 years, girl, way back when. And she's the author of Dry Humping, which is a guide to dating, relating, and hooking up without booze. And also the co-author of the Sobriety Deck, which is a deck of cards, which I just saw in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, out in the wild. I was so excited about that. It made me so happy, Tawny, because I had been to these little lake boutiques so many times. And it's so full of all the dish towels about Mama Slay, drink this and drink that. And at the lake, we drink this and that. So finally, after all these years, to see this variety deck made me so happy. And you also are the founder of a non-alcoholic spirit called Parentheses. You are a podcaster, the Recovery Rocks podcast with your friend and partner, Lisa Smith. And now you're teaching virtual writing courses about publishing, media strategy, all that stuff. And mostly you're an exhausted Capricorn. So
that's me.
So here we are. So this is great. Today we're going to talk about, which I'm excited because most of my podcasts are just for like women in general, but this one is a little bit more specific to women because I also recruit coaches and train coaches and teach coaches. So this one is a little more specific to people who are in the public eye or want to be in the public eye or have a business or a passion that includes influencing or selling or PR strategy or putting yourself out there and what that does to a person and what boundaries are appropriate. And I'm looking forward to hearing more of your experience. So let's start. So way back when, I know you were a little girl who wrote like letters to the editor to your
A little girl. Yeah, I was.
yeah.
I was a little girl. So like, yeah, I've been a writer. I mean, I feel like I've been a writer my whole life. I've been a professional writer the last 10 years. But to what you're talking about, I used to write for my local newspaper, way back in Waco, Texas, early 2000s. I was writing, they had a teen section to encourage young people to write op-eds. And I wrote a lot of, I guess ahead of my time. I wrote about legalizing cannabis. I wrote about body image. I wrote about legalizing gay marriage. I wrote about these really complex topics at 14.
We would have been friends as little girls, first of all.
Yeah.
I would love that kind of person. And I would also, have added to those articles. But you were somebody, even from a young age, who wasn't afraid to put your voice out publicly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from. I mean, I guess there is a part of me that, I feel like it came from, I'm an only child who I'm used to having the eyes on me, the attention on me. I should say only child with no cousins. So raised by a single mom. So, it was like,
I'm the only child raised by a single mom, but I have all these siblings and like half siblings, step siblings, whatever.
The
same.
I would give anything for a sibling. I'm not kidding. But yeah, you get it. Being an only child, it's a very specific experience. A lot of, I was used to having all of the attention, all of the eyeballs of the family because I was the only kid, only grandkid, only niece. So I learned that when I spoke, people listened, and I guess some confidence came from that. And I will also say, maybe you can relate to this. Being raised by a single mom, I learned how to be really independent and vocal. And she's a very strong woman. And I learned that strength from her. She always used her voice to advocate for injustice. And watching her do that showed me the importance of using your voice to advocate for injustice, to speak up for those who either can't speak or their voices are ignored. And that's a big part of my voice today.
I love it. And it says something about your family that your voice was heard, even as a child, that you had the attention of the adults around you, but they were also listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
That might not always be the case. So that's cool. And that has developed in you. Yeah. Somebody who's not afraid to speak out loud and to say something out loud. So tell me about your sobriety journey. Were you out loud about that from the very beginning, or were you wobbly questioning privately before you started to share that more publicly?
Yeah. I like this question because I now teach courses on how to be a public figure without losing yourself, how to have boundaries in it, because I did not
learn this for yourself.
Because I had to learn this for myself.
You were your first client. Same.
We talked about, I've been doing this since 2015. This is when Instagram was like really new. This is before content creator and influencer and hashtags. None of that was a thing yet, or I guess we had hashtags, but it was a very different time. And that was the time that I decided to reevaluate my relationship with alcohol. I just moved from Texas to New York City to pursue writing in 2015, in June of 2015. And shortly after I moved here, I decided to take a year off of drinking. And I started a blog. Again, 2015, blogging was super cool. Everyone, I
still think it's cool.
It is cool. Thank you.
Writer to writer, like blogs saved me, and I still share them. And I'm like, maybe this is old news, but I would spend my nights perusing blogs with my glass of wine in my hand alone.
Yes.
right? Like it was exactly what planted the seed of what was to come for me. So I still
Yeah.
think, I mean, I'm an old gal, but I still think blogs are cool.
You're completely right. Blogs are cool. And I would, without getting sidetracked, we could talk about newsletters here in a minute about how I think newsletters are really resurrecting blog culture. But, I started a blog called Sobriety Party where I documented my sober journey again, this was just a social experiment. I was just turning 30 and I was like, what if I don't drink for this whole year? And I document it publicly. So that's what I did.
I love it. Was it anonymous?
No, not at all.
Did you share it with your family and friends, inner circle, the social media that you had at that time? Or was it just like something you were doing on the side?
I started this blog and then I made a couple posts on Instagram and I shared the blog with a couple friends and family and I shared it on Facebook and I was just, again, social media was pretty new back then. We didn't really know.
Yeah.
Viral wasn't a word
that you were sharing it on. Okay.
So I started a separate account called Sobriety Party, which is something I advise against. I don't recommend starting separate accounts for creative endeavors unless it's a physical product. But no, I shared it to anyone that would listen, really. Okay. And it gained traction pretty quickly because there weren't a lot of people talking about it back then in this way. I didn't do AA. I didn't go that route. I was just like, hey, I'm 30. I drink too much. I drink until I black out. I want to figure out why. And that approach really resonated with people. And that's how I connected with, all the people that we like, our mutual friends. That's how I met you. And it was a really, I would say it was a very positive experience. And I don't have any regrets, but there's definitely some things that I would do differently. And that's really the approach that I take when I do work with clients and teach classes of like, here's what I did, here's what worked, and here's what I would do differently.
Right. And also it's a totally different time, 10 years later. I love that though. My 1-year experiment of not drinking, and I'm going to share with you what's going on with me. Right. It reminds me of like one of my favorite books and movies, Julie and Julia, where she make like a dish every day of the year or whatever. We love that kind of container of like 1 year and share your personal experience. And again, without traditional routes of like AA or whatever, and without saying what's going to happen when the year's over. Like you haven't decided to quit the rest of your life, or you haven't declared yourself a sober person necessarily. It's like, you're just trying this out. What a safe entry point for everyone. And we're all curious, like, okay, you go first. What happened? Do I want to go next? Right. Like, so I love that. So cool. So you met friends, you got followers, you got traction. Sobriety is now more like a business type account, right? Versus your personal account. Did you have a separate identity from your like sober life, creator life that you were starting to develop from your personal life? Did those feel like different things? Did you recognize like a turning point?
The answer to this is really like, the answer is no. Okay. and I, that's something I would do differently today. I had no boundaries. I shared everything. This was also, I was doing this while building a career as a freelance writer. And 10 years ago, it was a time of, the personal essay boom, the trauma porn boom, where, people are writing these deeply vulnerable personal essays for like $50 and just to get their names out there, and so there's a lot. I definitely exploited myself for sure. And it's really complex. And that is the beginning of the identity crisis that I'm on the other end of it now. Yeah. But it's since my book came out, it's definitely been identity crisis central over here.
Okay. This is the juice.
This is the juice.
What we're here to talk about. Yeah. I hear you. When I started Ditch the Drink with no followers and no email subscribers. I included my 2 other I started sending newsletters to my 2 other email addresses, my husband, my mom, and a couple friends who were not going to be ditching the drink. I was like, hey, can I put you on my newsletter list? And then I was writing to no one. Right. And, started with nothing, no followers, the whole thing. Right. Like we all do. And I too was like, well, what do I post? And this is before I even got certified as a coach, right? I was just gonna like try to help women like me. And I had no idea what to post, but I had kids and that was my life. So I was, and they're cute and they're funny and they got curly hair, like you can curly hair like you, like they're darling. But very quickly I was like, if this grows, so I would say one tip for somebody would be maybe like start with the end in mind, right? Like if this grows to where you want it to, I realized Ditch the Drink is my journey. And these little kids are going to turn into teenagers who are going to turn into college age students, likely. And what do they want out there about them? And what do I want out there about them?
Yes.
And what is their choice and what is mine? And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I need to find some other content because my kids are not going to be the content and I don't have their approval or agreement in that. And what they want now might not be what they want for the future. And like, I'm just going to leave them out of it. This is my thing that I'm doing and I'm going to leave them out of it. And I have, and I mean, I talk about parenting. People know, I think that I have two beautiful daughters, but I don't put their pictures on my business forums. And I can talk about things and I can talk about them, but I really have a protection about them. And I would say it doesn't matter when your followers are your husband and your mom and your two friends. But if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to grow a business or an audience, do you want the whole world to have that kind of access? And it's kind of hard to believe that you will grow when you're just starting, but we've multiplied. I mean, I'm not the most popular person on social media, but I still have thousands and thousands of followers, right? So,
and it's such a weird time because, I was actually talking to Trisha Lewis, a Recovery Happy Hour. I was talking to her about this, how, like, we're not famous by any means.
Right.
But like, if you and I went to a sobriety conference, everybody would know who we were.
Yeah.
So it's like,
if we're doing our job.
Yeah. So it's like, it's this very hyper specific niche, public, being a public figure in a very hyper specific space. And I think it's worth acknowledging how complex that is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We are not famous, right? I don't walk around with a bodyguard or anything, but I'll tell you one thing, you probably have an experience like this too. When I go to a sober specific event, as you said, like I would hope people would recognize me and my husband will say something and I'm like, well, if they don't know me here, then I'm not doing my job, right? Especially in a local group. Like, I hope they know who I am because I'm shouting from the rooftops all the time. But I went to a country concert at the United Center, which is where the Chicago Bulls play. And I got recognized there. And it was like, this had nothing to do with sobriety. And that's a huge venue. It was like, oh my God. Or sometimes I'll go shopping with my kids, like to the sports store and somebody be like, I saw you at Dick's or whatever. Like,
yeah. No, wow, I've had moments like that too of, someone recognized me on the subway, like, hey, like your stories really helped me. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. And then recently actually at a restaurant, I was in the bathroom washing my hands and this woman next to me goes, are you Tawny? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, I really liked your book, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right. Like it is what it is, and we put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Professionally.
Totally. We think about even in our stories, what we're sharing, this or that. Right. And it's like, yeah, it's professional and it's personal and we're letting people in. So how did you know you were exploiting yourself? Like that is such a huge word and it actually does describe it perfectly. Tell me more about that journey of like, you're putting yourself out there, you're being vulnerable, you're sharing, you might be sharing some of your trauma. You're also trying to get recognized as a writer. You want to connect people. Your intentions, I'm guessing, are so like, let's talk about this. Let's remove the shame from this and let's talk about it, bring it out into the open. And then come to find out later when you look back, like I was basically filleting myself for exposing myself for all, and maybe general public didn't earn that.
Yeah. So it's two parts. So I think the seed was planted about 5 years ago when I was working on my book, when I was working on Dry Humping. I was initially writing it as a memoir. And while, a big part of writing a book is taking writing classes and workshopping your ideas and your pages with editors and classmates and getting feedback on your writing. And I remember one time, I'm in a room with, I'm in a class with 10 other students and a teacher, and we're all giving each other feedback. And it was my turn. And we had just read the essay that I submitted, and people, let me back up. Dry Humping is about sober sex and dating. So the memoir was about sober sex and dating, So
And I'm like,
I was,
not only is this alcohol like a tricky, touchy, sensitive
yeah,
issue, it's actually also sex.
yes. Well, sex, coming out as bisexual. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I was writing about it from a first person perspective because it's a memoir, right? And then the questions that the fellow classmates were asking me were very appropriate because we're workshopping a memoir. But I realized I didn't want to answer those questions. I realized I initially, in my mind, I'm like, why would she ask me something like that? And I'm like, well, because you just read an essay about faking orgasms. So you opened the door to that.
Right.
So,
Right.
that was actually the beginning of me shifting the concept of my book to not being a memoir and actually focusing more on my journalistic research, where the book as it exists today on the shelves of bookstores, it's not the Tawny story. It is my years of research as a journalist, reporting on sober sex and dating and liquid courage. And yes, you definitely get my story in there. But it's much more about cultural criticism, interviews, research, stuff like that. So that was really the first part. And then after the book came out and, going on a book tour and just, again, when you have a chapter about faking orgasms or masturbation and, stuff like that, you're going to get some interesting questions on the book tour. And I just realized I was just like, I don't regret it, but I was just like, why am I talking about this?
Why did I open myself up.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So I'm working on a book too, and it's very therapeutic. And then it's like, do I want to talk about that or not? And then I'm like, why would somebody do this? Why would I do this to myself? People are going to disagree. There's going to be criticism. Not everyone's going to like it. You're going to hurt feelings. Like somebody has a different perspective of that, of course. Right. So you are opening yourself up to a lot of exposure, including criticism, unsolicited advice, shaming.
Other people's experiences, like talking about my sexual assault in the book has resulted in many people talking to me virtually or in line at a book signing, telling me about when they were raped. And I'm like, I actually talked to my therapist about it. I'm like, what do I say when someone tells me that they were raped and my book helped them? What do I do? And she's like, they just want to be heard. So, and they just want you to know that you helped them. They're not expecting you to give them advice or anything. You can just say, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I'm glad that my story was helpful to you. And that advice was super helpful because, again, it's like it's confusing because you put a book or, a piece of art, whether it's a book or a painting or whatever, and people are going to have a reaction to it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the answer to this, but at what point to what extent does the artist owe more to the viewer? I wrote the book. What more do I owe the reader? And I don't know the answer to that. That's something I'm still figuring out.
Yeah. And do you have capacity to receive that message when you receive it? Because that does something to you, right? Even energetically or empathetically, like, do you have capacity to receive that message right now? And of course you want to be helpful and share stories. And also then what? Like you said, it feels like a responsibility of sorts that you perhaps aren't exactly prepared for. So
no, and I will say, going on that book tour and doing lots of podcast interviews, I am so glad that book was not a memoir. I am so glad because I was able, and I'm able to talk about my research as a journalist. I'm not talking about, salacious sex stories. That's never really been my beat, but just being a sex writer, people are going to ask stuff like, what's the craziest sex position you've ever been in? I'm like, that's what you want to talk about right now? It's just like, but it's again, when you write a book called Dry Humping, people are going to have interesting questions. And I've learned that. And, and I think I'm realizing this as I'm talking to you. I think really the nail in the coffin of the whole I'm exploiting myself thing was I've been off Instagram for about a year now. I don't have it on my phone. I have an assistant and she posts on my behalf, very sporadically. But removing myself from Instagram really has given me the chance to reevaluate everything and how like Instagram took up so much of my energy and brain space and comparing my body to other people, comparing my career to other people. Like it really feels like a second sobriety of like removing this highly addictive app from my phone. It's been very, I guess, sobering. It's been very, very humbling. And now I'm in a place where I'm very happy writing my newsletter. I'm very happy teaching, doing tastings of my non-alcoholic drink. Everything that I do now, I'm not talking about myself anymore. I'm talking about research. I'm talking about publishing. I'm talking about media strategy. I'm talking about drink recipes. And no longer, I guess it's like over the last 2 years, I'm no longer the product. My book is the product. The drink is the product. The card deck is the product. My classes are the product. So I don't have to exploit myself anymore, if that makes sense.
So much sense. And that's so interesting because as a business coach, I teach coaches like I am my product. It's me. It's my personality. It's my warmth. It's my vibe. It's my, actually a lot of people choose me because of my Midwest accent.
I love it.
So it's like what makes people choose me versus somebody else is me. There's a lot of sober coaches out there, but nobody else is me. Right. So I am kind of my product. So there's a vulnerability in that, which you now have a separateness from. You now have a buffer of, it's not you they don't like, it's your drink. It's not you, it's the deck or, whatever.
Yes.
The book, they have a criticism of the book, but you can separate that from yourself because it's not you. Okay, so, and Instagram has changed. It started as like a place for you to share your personal experience. And then as your audience grew, you maybe decided, I don't want everybody to know some of these personal things about me, but also Instagram is different now because there's content creators. People's whole job is to create content going up against you, a writer whose job is to have words, right? And maybe not the best graphic or maybe not the best dance or caption and everything is curated now with a hashtag and a trend and whatever. Plus for me, who's still on Instagram, it's probably 5 sponsored posts in between every person that I actually want to follow. So unless it's kind of a pay to play sort of thing, right? Unless somebody is seeking you out specifically, you're getting bumped down if you're not paying probably most of the time. I knew that of course on some level, but again, removing myself from Instagram has really showed me by example of like how pay to play all of this is. Like I will occasionally get on Instagram from my desktop just to like check DMs or do research or something. And then I'll scroll for like 20 seconds and I'm like, these aren't even people I follow. These are just ads. These are content creators. Like I got on Instagram to stay in touch with people and stay in touch with my friends. Like I'm not here to be sold products. And it really, I forget who it was, but someone described Instagram as it just feels like you're at a digital shopping mall. And that's exactly, I think that's the perfect description. It's like, I'm not trying to go to the mall right now. I'm trying to see what my friends are up to. So that's not what Instagram is anymore. So I'm doing this crazy thing, Heather. I'm doing this thing where I'm actually just like picking up the phone and calling my friends. You guys, I'm so excited. My favorite makeup brand asked me to be an ambassador for them. Jones Road Beauty. You guys, if you feel like a clown in makeup, like I do, this is the makeup for you. It feels so moisturizing and hydrating that when I went to the store, they actually told me I was using so much. I want to take a bath in this, okay? Jones Road Beauty is the clean, high-performance makeup line from Bobbi Brown, made to enhance your natural beauty, not hide it. From Miracle Balm to their viral foundation, every product is multi-purpose and effortless. It takes me about 5 minutes in the morning, and I feel good all day. And right now, if you use my link, when you spend $85, you're going to get a free mascara. Head to the link below. Start fresh, feel good, glow differently. Thanks, Jones Road Beauty. You know I love magazines. From my vision board to my junk journaling, getting that glossy happy mail in the mailbox makes me so happy, you guys. What happens after the moment? That changes everything. The grief, the healing, the reinvention. After magazine is where those next chapters unfold. It delivers soulful essays, powerful interviews, and vibrant visuals that explore life after the transformational moments and after alcohol. And now we've introduced an Ask a Coach column with real questions and grounded guidance from an expert coach, me, Heather Lowe of Ditch the Drink, because sometimes the best next step is simply knowing what to ask. For honest answers, thoughtful advice, and a path forward, explore After at aftermagazine.com with my link below. Subscribe for Digitalese to get the stunning quarterly print issue, because life doesn't end with the turning point. It evolves, and After helps you live what comes next.
I'm not scheduling connection times in a Google Calendar. I'm literally just picking up my phone and saying, "Hey girl, how are you?" And people are loving it. Let me just say.
Wow, that is so aggressive, Tawny. No, I love it. I actually tell my husband, one thing I value about people, I say, she's a pick up the phone kind of person. And so am I. I'm a really good phone talker. So I love people that don't text like, are you available? When can we get to da da da? Just the audacity of
just
the
call me. Just fucking call me.
Dialing and going, I've got 5 minutes. I'm headed here. Let's chat. Right. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Instagram is, you're being sold to the entire time. And you're also, you're being sold to. There's so many things to compare to, but also for people like us that are really authentic, it doesn't really work because we should be doing the things that are on trend. It goes towards trending audio, trending reels, trending things, new ways to show Instagram. And you and I are artists. All of us have a creative part of us or an artist part of us, and writing is our art mostly, right? And we want to share in real time something we're thinking of, or we want to connect about an issue that's happening right now. And it's not on trend, and we're not putting it in the right format to gain the followers. So I always use it for I always say it's for me. And there's a business way to do it. If you want to follow these steps, do it for that. If I follow those steps and do it for that, it doesn't work for me. I have to be having fun. I have to be making real connections. And I don't care about the rest. You know what? It surprises people. I don't look at insights. I don't look at who liked that, who didn't, if this grew, if it didn't, when people stopped looking. I don't care because I didn't do it for them. I did it for me.
Good for you.
I had something that I wanted to express, and it will hit and land where it does. But I had something I wanted to express. So why write a book? Why write? Why anything? Because you have to, right? Like for you, your creative spirit, you have to. You were born to do that. So you can't just hide away in a hole would be the other option, right? Like not do it. So you want to do it. You have to put yourself out there. It is your calling to have a voice, but you have to have the right boundaries, it sounds like, to protect yourself, being an out there kind of person. Is that a fair assessment?
Very much so. And for me, I have found those boundaries are best in a newsletter. I like writing a newsletter. I like writing. I'm a writer. And I've also found that you can take your newsletter subscribers with you everywhere you go. Whereas I have 12,000 Instagram followers. I can't take them with me. I don't use Instagram, so they don't see my stuff. That's just how it is. But with your newsletter subscribers, you're building this list. And right now I'm on Substack, but maybe I'll leave Substack and go somewhere else, and I'll just export my list and take it with me. And I love that. I think that is the best thing you could do as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as a creative person. Like when I am working with people on media strategy, when I'm working with people on creating content, I don't do any Instagram advising at all. I tell people, don't waste your time or your money on Instagram unless you're going to go all in. And going all in means paid ads, pay to play, all this bullshit that I don't support I think the best thing you could do is build your newsletter list. You have full creative control of it. You're not having to, Instagram, there's the character count, there's a limit, there's like, your photos have to be a certain size. Like you said, the trending sounds. And it's like, how is this creative? Like literally, how is this me being creative? Like I have to put me as a writer, as a cultural critic, as a anthropologist, how am I supposed to distill all of this into a character count or a picture or an infographic, because that's what people want to receive? And I love what you said about how you don't check analytics, you don't check insights, because you're making stuff you want to make. You're doing the thing you want to do. And that's so great. I didn't do that. I was very caught up in the analytics and the performance and the likes and all of that. And it became this whole secondary addiction for me. And it wasn't serving my creativity at all, actually. It was actually doing a disservice to me. When you look at all different mediums for art, like if you're, to be really simple, like if you're painting on a canvas, if you're painting on a small canvas, you have a small amount of space. If you're painting on a big canvas, you have a lot of space. So I really think of Instagram as like telling a story on a really small canvas without nuance. There's no room for nuance. There's not a lot of room for self-expression. And especially if you have to, like, whatever I'm creating has to also be like 80% trends and insights and what other people want from me.
Right.
Like that's just, again, that's like that just feels like more self-exploitation. It just doesn't feel right for me anymore.
I'm going to add to that and say, you take the thing you wanted to create, your idea, and then you turn it into trending audio and reel and the graphic and the whatever. Then you put it into AI and ask them to optimize this for a keyword and SEO. And then what you post is exactly everything everybody else has posted in your idea, and your you-ness is not there. It's been completely washed out by that time, right? And so what you're sharing is the exact same thing as everyone's sharing. And in this sober sphere, it is such an echo chamber. And you've seen that in your last 10 years. And so have I. It wasn't like that when we started. And I'm not like a curmudgeon, like, oh, the good old days or anything. Like,
back in my day.
Right, exactly. Like, they can evolve, they can change. It's different. I get that for sure. But it is all the same. It's all been said before. All the ideas have already been said before, and none of them are original and none of them are yours. They're all just repeating what somebody else is, right? So then you fill your feed with that, and and then whoever is doing the best content creating, I always say this too, is like the number of likes and follows doesn't equal what a good coach I am. It doesn't mean I'm good at coaching. That means I'm good at marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing and content creation and coaching are two separate skill sets. They're not the same. And being a good content creator or marketer doesn't mean you're a good coach. And a good coach isn't necessarily a good content creator or marketer. So you just have to ask yourself, what am I using this for? What is the strategy? What works for me? What aligns with my energy? And certainly if you have business goals or growth, or you want to reach an audience, or you want to get people, fantastic. And also transfer them over to your newsletter, right? Because that is a group, especially if they pay, then they have, mine is free. Yours probably paid, that you have like paid access, or you're actually giving an email address. You're giving something of yourself to gain access. There's a little bit of a gate there, and it's not exposing yourself to the whole world. It's a gate to come in, and an agreement of, here, in exchange for my email address, here's some information about me.
Yeah.
You get a step closer to me. And then from there, a step closer, right? Like I have a community where I'm sharing all the time. You don't get that on Instagram. You get that when you come in and be part of my group. So what boundaries do you recommend for folks? Get off social media. It's ruining your life. Start a newsletter, share yourself there. What else would you say? And especially as an author, how do you protect yourself?
I mean, I'm not anti social media for other people. I'm very anti for me. I think the way you described it was really smart. Of you're able to understand that it's like the way that this reel performed does not have anything to do with me. It has nothing to do with me at all. It's the algorithm. It's how it all works. So I think if you could treat social media like that, fine, have fun. Let it be there. Let it be your thing. Let it be this free place that you can advertise your services. on that note, I think a newsletter is definitely worth more people's time because the way that algorithm buries posts, you can make the best reel in the world, but unless you're paying to boost it, it's only going to be seen by maybe 10% of your followers. Whereas on a newsletter, even if you only have 50 subscribers, all 50 of them will see that email. They may not read it, they may delete it, but they will at least see the email. So this is what I mean when I said the value in creating a newsletter as opposed to social media. Like I spent hours and money at just making Instagram content and getting nothing in return for it. And with a newsletter, it's very different because you're owning all of that content. You're not, every time I post on Instagram, it feels like I'm just putting another dollar in Zuckerberg's pocket,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I feel like it's like, woo, look at me, who's ever loudest, whoever can make the most noise, or what you said, trauma, whoever can get you closest to. Like, I'm not willing to be like going to the bathroom while I'm doing a story, right? So also like, there's places in my house.
Good for you, Heather. I love that about you.
Classic girl. I'm a classic girl. Okay. No, there's like places in my house maybe where I will video, but also there's places where I won't. You don't get a tour of every single part of me and my life, right? But so it's just like splashy, loud, it's attention seeking, it's clickbait, it's whatever you want it to be. But a newsletter is like, come sit down, have a cup of tea.
Yes, that's a really good
conversation.
That's a really good way to put it. And, I'll say I get more people signing up for my classes, buying my drink, buying my book from newsletters because you could actually put links in the newsletter. As soon as we get an order for parentheses, I'm able to track, oh, cool, that came from them clicking on my newsletter. Yeah. As soon as I get someone to sign up for one of my courses, I'm like, oh, cool, I just put this newsletter out. It works. People are actually reading this. So it really, I guess the best way to kind of boil it down is like, when it comes to boundaries and being a public figure, you really just have to ask yourself what you're comfortable with. Be aware of what is quote unquote expected of you as a public figure. And that means like, if you want to have a book deal, it is expected that you do have some sort of platform. Doesn't have to be Instagram, but you do have to be known as the expert on in your subject. This is for nonfiction, of course, but however you feel comfortable establishing yourself as an expert on something, do that. Because if you're making a reel and you hate doing it, it's very obvious. No one likes watching those videos. But if you're writing a newsletter and it really brings you joy and only 50 people read it, those are 50 people that will actually buy your book because they connected with what you just wrote. Because like you just said, you invited them over for tea as opposed to like
sobriety, obviously. Sobriety.
Yes, sobriety, as opposed to like standing in the middle of town square yelling like, hey, anyone.
Totally. Yeah, I love it. You brought up another good point that we haven't touched on yet that I kind of alluded to when I said like your following doesn't, if you're good at marketing or content creating doesn't mean you're a good coach and vice versa. And I talked with Trisha Lewis on this. We were both on Recovery Happy Hour in her pop-up episode is the other connection.
Yes.
Yeah. Two guests, me and you. But the other thing is followers doesn't equal money necessarily. And you can have a very popular post that hundreds of thousands of people viewed and liked and shared, and you can make zero sales from that. And to your point, you can have 50 people on your newsletter list and make sales from that. You can grow your business with less, right? So that there's such an illusion out there too, that followers equals money. And also I always say like, I'm not an ambassador or an affiliate for things. So my job, I don't make money being on Instagram. I make money coaching people from my, right? So I don't have a buy-in to post at this time or that time or be sharing this or that or whatever. I did get asked for Jones Road makeup and I do love them. So I do share an affiliate for that. They all get free makeup. You get free makeup. I get free makeup. It's like the best thing ever. So I do recommend them, but I don't spend my time doing that. I'm not really like a makeup seller. You know what I mean? And it's not one of many things that I'm promoting. I'm only promoting my coaching services. So I don't get paid to be on Instagram to promote other people's stuff. I don't get paid to have content, and I'm not being judged and evaluated and measured my success by how many views I get by anybody besides me. I'm not getting paid for views, right? So views doesn't equal money. Do your thing with your people, take care of yourself, have your newsletter list, get the people closer, connect with them, and sell your stuff that way, right? Create a following of people that are interested in you, and it might not be big and it can still be very profitable.
Yeah, I think social media has completely destroyed our perception of self. I know that's a big statement, but so many clients and students are just like, like they have the best book idea or the best article that they're trying to find placed or whatever. And they're like, I only have 1,000 followers. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. That does not matter. Like, again, people, let's say talking about publishing here, you're trying to get a book deal. They just want to know platform. They want to know who you know. Sure, having like 1 million Instagram followers might look nice, but Instagram's been around long enough that publishers know 1 million Instagram followers does not equal 1 million book sales. So it's not as important as it used to be, I'll say. But what I like to do with clients is sit down with them and just talk to them about their body of work, their professional connections, their colleagues. I had a call this morning, actually. She's like, she has a great book idea, quote unquote, only has 1,000 Instagram followers. But then I start digging. I'm like, well, what about your professional connections? And then she just starts listing all these people that she's worked with in the past, her current colleagues. And I'm like, this is your platform. This is what publishers want to see. They don't like Instagram following is like the tiniest part of it. So I think that would be the takeaway for your listeners is like, who else have you met in your life that is supportive of your creative work? Who and it could be, it doesn't have to be famous people. I mean, sure, if you know a famous person, great. But like when I started digging in with her, she's like, oh yeah, I know this editor at Vogue and I know this creative director at Chanel. And I'm like, girl, like this is way more important than Instagram followers. And
those Instagram followers can be bought is the other thing I want to say. You see somebody with 1 million followers and they have 4 posts and they're not famous celebrities. They've been bought. That's an illusion.
Yeah.
They bought those followers. That's not even true. And to that thing about like what success is, like you have to make 7 figures and that's what success is. When I talk to people, I'm like, they're going to do group coaching. How many people do you want? I want 50. Would you be happy with 10? I would be so happy with 10. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
10. Let's go for 10. Like get real. Like everybody you're seeing on there who's making 7 figures by twirling in front of the ocean and never working. There's a lot of illusion with that. And I also twirl in front of the ocean and don't work. I have autonomy in my schedule. I just got back from Florida. It's beautiful. I was at the Ritz. How lovely. But that's one piece of my life.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of illusion when it comes to social following. And I agree, your personal connections, people that have been there, your work connections, you have an audience. It doesn't have to be on Instagram. And you have bigger buy-in from people that are closer to you. It's like circle, right? A closer and closer inner circle. And appealing people that are willing to go to bat for you, right? Show up to your book tour, show up to your
exactly. I think we are just all so obsessed with this digital curation of our lives that we have completely forgotten the value of human beings that we know, that we have worked with in the past, that are also doing cool creative stuff, that are supportive of what you're doing and you're supporting what they're doing. We need to get back to, IRL. My husband often jokes that the next TikTok is IRL. And I think he's right. We're getting sick of all of this content. We are starved for embodied connections with each other. And, whether that's personally or professionally, but you don't need Instagram or social media as much as you have been conditioned to think that you do. I'll say since I got off Instagram a year ago, my coaching business has exponentially grown. My classes have filled up. I'm doing so much better professionally because I'm not diluting my output. I'm putting all of my energy into the things that I really want to do instead of feeling like I have to have a presence across multiple platforms.
And you can do it off the grid. That's so good. And it's better for your mental health, I'm imagining. And you're creating content that matters to you versus a dumb Instagram post that also is going to be gone in 20 seconds, right? Your newsletter lives longer. Your book lives longer. This podcast even lives longer than scroll. So it's more meaningful. It's longer lasting. It's deeper. And I think in real life, you're right. And also pick up the phone. Like you, be the kind of person pick up the phone for real partnerships and real connections, not just this like very surface level, give it a like, right? Like have a deeper connection. We are looking for deeper connection for sure. So do you feel responsibility to be like a perfect example of sobriety, or how do you feel about that? Also, being a public figure, there is this parasocial thing. I think you and I both know it. Like we're both vulnerable out there. So people think they know us. And we do put enough out that we've shared enough of ourselves that they think they know us, and they do know a part of us, but not all of it. And we don't know them. That's the weird thing. It's like, okay, you know me, but I don't know you.
I know it's,
me, but so help me walk through that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is a whole other can of worms of like, in this last year, I've also been really distancing myself from sobriety conversations and sobriety content because I felt very typecast. I felt like I had pigeonholed myself, and I think the best way to describe it is like, I've put a bow on that. I wrote the book, I made the deck, I did the podcast, I've done tons of public speaking. I've said pretty much everything I have to say about sobriety. And if you want to know my thoughts on sobriety, go look at these last 9 years of work. I don't have anything new. And, this has also coincided with, my relationship with cannabis. I had a really, just this complex, like, oh my God, what are my followers going to think if I smoke weed? And it's like, why do I care so much about these followers? Like, why these people that I don't even know? Why do I care so much about what they think? And I had to really, really unpack a lot of that with myself, with my husband, with my therapist. And I'm at this point now where I'm just like, I am sober from alcohol. I am in recovery, and I will always be in recovery. But like, weed's a part of my life pretty much every day. And I'm okay with that. I'm at a point where I'm okay with that. And I had to remove myself from what the soberverse thought about me and weed to actually figure out what this plant even means to me, and that was a huge, I'm talking years. That's been years of work that I've been working on that.
Your opinion is the only one that matters on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If anybody's concerned, it would be somebody very close to you. It wouldn't be one of your random followers, strangers.
Exactly.
Never met, right? And everybody's got an opinion about freaking everything. Are you kidding me? Like literally the opinions and the need for somebody to share those opinions with you. It's like, good for you. This is my life. I'm going to live it the way I do. And you go on doing you, girl. And I also love the past you're ready to burn to the ground. Like I moved on from that. It was just in my newsletter this week about lay to rest the previous versions of yourself. How free, how to not have to be that person anymore. And in some ways we're nesting dolls of ourselves, right? Like each version, but in other ways, I'm not that person anymore. I don't even know if I like her. That's not me. That was me.
Yeah.
That was me in the 90s. That was me in the early 2000s. Like this is me now. And I'm over that and I'm done with that. And I'm here. Come along with me now, present and future. And that's always where coaching is too, present and future. So
yes.
I love that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's important to talk about. I really do. And putting a pin in the sobriety conversation has really allowed me to like, I'm working on my next book, and it's not about sobriety or addiction or mental health or anything like that. And I'm having so much fun figuring out what it is. I don't know exactly what it is just yet, but like everything that we've talked about for this last hour has been the work that I've done in the past. I'm not working on that anymore. Like I love this conversation because we're talking about what I'm working on now. What I'm working on now is teaching and coaching and selling my drink and watering my plants and living this, going to the dog park and like living this, again, this embodied life where I'm not plugged into the screen anymore. Like, I mean, I'm still very into screens, but it's Instagram specifically. I'm not trying to fit into this medium that no longer fits me.
I love it. And the like and the heart that and the follower and the feedback that matters is yours. And you're having fun again. And you're not judging yourself or needing affirmation by the numbers or the masses. And in fact, there's a problem with that if you do. I mean, I love feedback and I'm like an Enneagram 3. So an image and people liking me, also recovering people pleaser, right? Like that is very important.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah. And I'm learning to unwind myself from some of that too and give myself my own feedback. So I love that. You're in a healthier spot. You're doing better work with people that are closer to you. Tell the listeners how they can find you, where to follow you, where to get this newsletter, how to follow along with the book you're writing and all that good stuff, Tawny.
Don't follow me on Instagram. No, just go to my website, tawnylara.com. Find, my newsletter is currently on Substack. But if you go to my website, you'll connect to my newsletter. And that's the best way to stay in touch with me. My website also has information on my classes. If you're interested in learning more about writing a book or media strategy or establishing yourself as an expert on a subject without exploiting yourself. That's what I do. And also if you're looking for like a delicious artisanal non-alcoholic spirit, parentheses, my husband and I co-founded it and there's nothing else like it. It's bold, it's strong, it's delicious. And drakeparentheses.com.
Awesome. Thank you for your time and your knowledge and your spirit. And I look forward to staying connected with you. I think you have been in super big media publications too. So the fact that you're teaching us how to get exposure to those things without overexposing yourself, it's so important. And so many of the listeners probably going to go and look at your classes. Thank you, girl. I love you. Till next time.
Thank you. Mwah.
Bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Peripatia Podcast, a talk show for women. Don't forget to download my free ebook, The 12 Truths to Change Your Life. Do it for the plot. We'll see you in the next episode. Lots of love.